Hello, my name is Brian Kinney, and I'm a Striven ERP advisor. And welcome to our Human Resources lesson, where we will be discussing time off management. Topics today will include time off settings, time off availability, time off categories, time off submission, and time off approval. So with that, let's get started. So let's first explore the time off settings. To get there, click Company and Settings from the drop-down. Next, you can choose the Employee section, and you'll have Time Off right here, which you can expand to see everything that we'll talk about today. First, let's talk about our time off settings. With the time off settings, you can enter what your work hours for one day are. I can keep the default, which is 8 hours, or I can increase or lower this rate as well, depending on what my work hours and particular work day are for most of my employees. I can also add the minimum time off to request in minutes. So what is the minimum number you want employees to request off for? So if that is 15 minutes, they can't request any less than that. They can only request more than 15 minutes. You can keep that as 15. If you want that to be 5 minutes or 30 minutes, or maybe it's all the way up to 60 minutes, then you can enter your minute quantity for a minimum time off employees can request for their paid time off or sick time, whatever kind of category you add, which we'll talk about a little later. But this is just your basic settings for your time off and how you want it structured for your company. The work time means that when they ask for a time off for a specific day, they'll get the time off for their entire work day, which you're entering here in terms of your hours. And then the minimum time off to request you're entering as well, so they can request down to that many minutes. And if you want a reason to be required when employees are submitting time off, you can mark that checkbox on, and then they will not be able to submit time off unless they add a reason. If you don't want that to be required, you can simply take it off and click Save. Next, let's talk about time off categories. To find those, you don't have to leave anywhere in your settings. You can just click Time Off Categories underneath the Time Off section. And this will bring you to your categories list. So here we can see I only have one time off category, which is PTO. And the columns here on the listing include the category name, the expiration type, if there is one, and the accrual type. We can also search for categories by name up here. Now if we want to add a new category, just click the blue Add button at the top of the list. And this will bring you to the Add Time Off Category page. Here we can add the name for the category, and then the checkbox options will allow us to turn on or off certain things related to this particular category. For instance, do we want flex time to be allowed to this time off? Do we want this time off to be paid time off? Do we want to allow time off even if it's not available? So if they don't have any days left, do we want to allow them to still be able to request time off and go to a negative number? If we want any of those options to be turned on, we can just toggle the boxes. Next, down below, we have the accrual and expiration information. Accrual means when do you want this particular category to accrue days? Do you want this to happen per month? Do you want an annually fixed date where this accrues? Or do you want this based on the anniversary date of the employee? You can choose any radio button that you wish. Here I'm going to choose an annually fixed date. When I do that, I can select the month and day of that month that I want this to recur for my company. Next, I can choose an expiration date. Do I want there to be rollover every year for this time off? Meaning that there's no expiration. Every year you get whatever's left from the previous year. Or do I want the expiration to be an annually fixed date or based on the anniversary date of the employee? If you've chosen one of the options up top, you will not be able to select certain options down below in the expiration, such as if I chose annually fixed date, I can't choose anniversary date of the employee in the expiration. If I've chosen anniversary date of the employee, I can't choose annually fixed date from the expiration because it's not based on my accrual. So I can only match my accrual or choose no expiration date in the expiration checkboxes. So I'm going to keep it anniversary date of the employee, and I'll say carryover days. Do I want any carryover days to come from the previous year? If I don't, then just keep it as 0. If I do, you can make it a 1, 2, or any numeric value you wish. Once you have your accrual and expiration set for the category, you have notification options on the far right of the category page. So here you can choose which employees should get notified when time off of this category are submitted by employees. So if this should be somebody like Human Resources Manager or maybe a division lead, you can choose that from the time off below. So if I click Recipients, this will show me the top 5 in alphabetical order, but I can choose to load more and keep loading the next 5 results. So here I can choose an employee from the drop-down, and I can do the same thing for all of these. So the top one is when it's submitted. When a time off is submitted of this category, who do I want to be notified? Then who do I want to be notified when it's marked approved? Who do I want to be notified when it's denied? And when it's canceled? So I can select the employees from down here. And if I want to add more than one, I can do that. And if I need to remove anybody, I can simply choose the deactivate icon or the trash can, and it'll remove that employee from the drop-down. Once I have everything set, I can simply choose the Save button, and it's going to save that category. You'll see the image of the notification recipient listed for each status, and if I click Save and Close, it'll bring me back to my list, and I'll be able to see the category and the expiration and accrual information for each. Now let's talk about availability. Time off availability is again underneath the time off section. And once I click time off availability, it'll bring me to the list of available options for my time off. Here we'll see years from 0 all the way down to your latest list of availability. You'll also see your time off categories separated into 2 columns. And this will list how many days per category employees get based on how many years they've worked for your company. And if I need to edit any of this information, I can click the Edit link for each appropriate availability year. For instance, I don't have any days structured for my sick time according to the years that are listed here. So if I click Edit, I can then add how many sick time they get off for this set of years. So if I give people 5 days of sick time for their first year, I can add that, and we'll see the 5 added in front of the days. And I can keep doing that all the way down. So if this just stays at 5 until maybe they work here for 2 years, then they get 7. And I can keep updating this as I need to update. Once I have everything structured to fit my needs, you'll see all the days listed in the appropriate time off category. If I need to add a new year, just simply click the Add New Availability link at the top, and you'll be able to add a new year bucket to your list of availability. So if I want to add year 6, I can add how many days they get for PTO and how many sick days they get as well, and then click Insert over here, and you'll see the new availability added to your list. If I need to remove any availability, all I need to do is click the minus button to the right of each list of availability, and this will remove it from my list of availability. What employees have available is all based on their start date in the employee information. So if they started with our company 3 years ago, they're going to get 15 days of this category and 7 days of this category. If they've worked here for only 1 year, they're going to hit the 1 year bucket, and so on and so forth. Now that we've set up our time off settings, let's talk about time off submission and approval of said time off. So each employee can submit time off by using their info dropdown. To find that dropdown, simply click on your image at the top of Striven, and you'll see a list of dropdown features, and one of them is time off. By clicking that, we can see the employee's time off rate. If we are a human resources manager and we're managing and entering time off for specific employees, this can be found underneath the employee's info page, which will be discussed in one of our videos, the employee profile lesson. But here I'm just going to discuss how you can submit time off for yourself. And to do that, you go to the page listed My Time Off. Here you'll see a list of categories that your job title includes. So if your job title includes only one category, then you can only submit time off for that particular category. So here I only have availability for PTO, but I can see my available days is 22, and my current accrual rate is 12 days a year based on how long I've worked with the company. I can also see my previously submitted time off requests and the duration of those requests and any reason I've entered. If you only have one available. If you have more than one, you can select it from the drop down below. Next, you can choose the time off from, so the start date of your time off and the end date of your time off. So here if I want to take off for, let's say, the 23rd, the time off to will default to the same day. But if you need to change this, simply click on the calendar icon and choose a future date. The times will default to what a standard shift for your company is. So 8 to 5 is my default shift. Therefore, the time off request starts at 8 and it ends at 5. If I need to change this, however, I can choose a different start time and a different end time as well. You'll remember that we had a checkbox to require reason. If we were requiring reason, I would not be able to save this time off without entering a reason here. So if we want to enter a reason, then I can enter a reason and click Save and Close. Once the time off submission is submitted appropriately, we'll see the category, the time off, time and duration of the time off, the reason, and the status, whether it's approved, it's pending, declined, and so forth. As long as the time off hasn't already happened, you have a cancel button, which means that it's going to cancel the time off request, and your list of available days will go back to its current available days. You'll notice if we have a future time off submitted, a third option will drop down in your category listing that says time off available as of. This lists the last day of your time off request and how many days off you'll have after that day. So I've submitted a time off request for 2 days and the last day is the 24th. Therefore, after the 24th, I've subtracted 2 days of time off. Therefore, I'm at 20 days based on my available 22 days before that initial request. From here, you can also add a time off adjustment. And to do that, click the Add Adjustment button at the top of the list. And here you can adjust hours of time off and state a reason. So let's say I'm adjusting for 1 hour and the reason is worked overtime for a customer. So we're adjusting this employee's time off for the hour that they worked overtime. I can enter that reason, click Save and Close, and now you'll see the available is 22 days and 1 hour because I've made that adjustment to my time off. If we want to see previous adjustments made, we can click the Adjustments log, and this will show us all the time off adjustments and time off requests and submissions that have been added for this particular employee. And we can search for time off category and adjustment category as well. So now let's talk about time off approval. Time off approval is completely based on the employee's permission and user role. So to discuss that, let's actually take a look at a user role and discuss the particular permissions involved with time off submissions. So go to User Roles, click the Employees tab, and click Roles underneath the Security section. Here we can click into any user role we'd like, and then what I'm going to do is actually search for a function called time off. I can type that in and click the magnifying glass to the right, and this will narrow down my list for only permissions related to time off. And as you can see, we have a lot of them. So certain things related to time off are if they can add adjustments, if they can adjust time for all employees. But when it comes to time off approval, there's one permission that you want to look at in particular, and that is time off self-approve. If they have this permission, then if the employee with that permission submits time off, it's going to automatically approve, and it won't hit the approval queue for their manager or a set employee to review and approve or decline that time off request. If you want their submission to hit the approval queue, you can leave this permission on. If you want to allow any employee with this user rule to have their time off submitted automatically approved, you can check that on. It's going to turn blue, which means that they have that permission. You also have the same ability for self-adjust. If you want your adjustments to auto-approve, then you can say self-adjust. If you want somebody else to perform those functions, you can take that off and the employee will not have access to that. So self-approve will dictate whether an employee's request hit the time off approval queue or whether it just auto-approves automatically. So once you've adjusted that, you can just click Save, and then any employee with this user role will have access to the self-approve time off permission. Now the time off approval queue is located underneath the Employees section. We have a time off section. Just click Approve right here, and here we can see all the time off requests that have been submitted that need to be reviewed, and then we can either approve or deny the request. So on the list we can see the category and the employee who submitted the request, the time off period and duration, the reason why they would like the time off, and any flex or time off available. To review the time off, simply click on the clock and person icon. And this will initiate a pop-up where you can see the time off request in more detail. And here we can edit anything that needs to be edited, and we can also view the note and reason. But at the bottom of the pop-up, we can approve or deny the time off request right from here. So if I want to approve this time off request, I'll just click the Approve button, and that time off request will be extracted from the approval queue. I can also approve things en masse by clicking the Select All. Each time off request selected will be highlighted in green, and you can either approve or deny the request as needed. Search filters in the approval queue include the employee who you want to search for, the category name in your settings, and the time off from and to. Once all your time off has been approved or denied, your queue will be emptied and you'll see no results to display until more employees submit time off requests. To manage time off, we also have a time off calendar, and to view that, click the Employees tab and choose Calendar underneath the Time Off section. This will show you week by week time off requests, and you can view them in different color options. Blue means that the time off has been approved. Yellow means that it's pending approval, and red notes a holiday. For instance, we just approved time off for December, so if I go forward to December, we'll be able to see all the days off that we have. And as I scroll through, I can see any holidays in red and any time off approved or pending approval time off as well. The last thing we'll talk about in terms of time off is your adjustment queue. To find your mass adjustments, click the Employees tab and choose Adjust underneath the Time Off section. This will bring you to your vacation adjustment page. And search filters here include searching for a time off category, reporting as of a specific date, and viewing time off availability that is less than a certain number of days. And here I can enter any numeric value I wish. So let's enter 10 days. And if I click the blue down arrow, I can expand to see more search filters available. And this will allow me to filter for a specific employee, whether the employee is active or inactive, and I can also show the calculator as well. But if I just click Search, this will show me all of my employees, their start dates, how much time off they've accumulated, taken, and any adjustments that they have. And if I need to adjust their time off days, I can do so here. For instance, if Alex O'Connor needs to be adjusted 10 days, I can enter 10, and I can adjust anybody's days off that I need to en masse using this adjustment. And I can also reflect their 10-day salary if that needs to be adjusted as well. When I'm ready, I can scroll down to the bottom, enter my reason for adjusting, choose the date that the adjustment takes effect, and click Save Adjustments. This will adjust the employee's time off, and now if I increase my search to 11 days, I'll be able to see the employees who I just adjusted their time off, and I'll see the adjustments of 10 in the appropriate column for those employees. So that was a look at how to set up, create time off requests, and also how to approve and adjust time off for employees in your Striven system.